People. Okay. What is left? I guess.
I mean, it's like a serious draft, right?
This is a meeting of the Township Committee, December 5th, 2016. The notice requirements provided for in the Open Public Meetings Act have been satisfied. Notice of this meeting was properly given by transmission to the Star Ledger, the Independent, and the Two River Times, and by posting at the Middletown Township Municipal Building, and filing with the Township Clerk all on January 7th, 2016. Committeeman Massell.
Here.
Committeewoman Murray. Here. Committeeman Sedendino. Here. Deputy Mayor Fiore. Here. Mayor Sharpie.
Here.
Please rise for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I'd like to ask for a moment of silence to honor our troops serving worldwide, defending our constitutions, freedoms, and way of life. Thank you. Our first item on tonight's agenda, we have a presentation by our municipal authorities. Would you like to begin? We can begin with the Township of Middletown Sewage Authority.
Let's see, I guess the question is, what are we doing this year? And what we're doing is construction. We have 11 projects going on all at once, ranging from $100,000 up to $2.5 million. We're still basically reacting to Hurricane Sandy and Hurricane Irene and Superstorm Sandy. Hurricane Irene tried to carry away our Emery Drive pump station, but we kept it. And Superstorm Sandy gave us $1 million worth of damage. That's basically where the 11 projects came from. The first 3 projects that we did were pump station related, and they're pretty much funded by TOMSA. The Emery Drive pump station is now raised up, so we won't be carried away by the next hurricane. The price tag on that was basically $800,000 plus another $600,000 in FEMA funds. The Jumper Brook pump station, which is located between Jumper Brook Road and Whispering Pines, that one was basically raised this year, converted old pumps to new. We changed the way the pump station works. It's no longer have to go down into the ground to get to the pumps. They're now in a well, and if you need to repair them, you just bring them up. So it's a lot safer. The last one is the Clay Pit pump station, which is down Lakeside Avenue near Clay Pit Creek. And that one, again, that was also raised up and the new pumps put in. The 8 projects we have, the big projects, they're pretty much divided into 3 different areas. They're either flood-related projects, plant-related, or collection system. The flood projects, we had our raw sludge building. Basically, we put a second level on that. We moved all the electrical equipment up to the 2nd floor, so that won't get swamped again. Every building that has a basement has these big sump pumps in it now. Hopefully, the next storm we'll be able to pump out instead of filling up in the basements. Every door in the plant and all the windows in the administration building have barriers now, so that we shouldn't flood through the doors as we did the last time. The plant repairs, the administration building has all new ADA equipment, a new ramp, new improvements to the restrooms. Sludge thickening building has a new roof. The clarifiers have all been rehabbed, and basically for the tune of $500,000. Our biggest project is the power building, which is a brand new building. It's large enough to house cogeneration if we ever get around to that. But basically that's our $2.5 million building that's going in. And again, that's raised up out of the floodplain. And on top of that, it'll have a new fuel storage tanks, and it'll have a new generator, which is raised up again. So. And then the last one is aerial pipe crossings. A lot of places in Middletown there are these deep ravines, and we have pipes that go across. We fixed 3 of those this year. Ones where the supports were twisting, and they were pretty scary to look at. they were basically another $1 million for that. So as far as funding goes right now, we basically, we have notes up to $7 million in notes with no interest, which is pretty good. So at some point later on this year, we'll convert to bonds, but that'll all have to be handled up on our board level. Some of the, we have just laundry lists of projects to do. Wastewater just eats everything, steel, concrete, anything. And every 20 years, you basically have to go back and begin to replace what you did 20 years ago. Now the plant is basically going on 50 years old now, so all of our projects, $1 million here, $1 million there, it's a lot of money. But some of our smaller projects, we're GPSing the location of all the manholes in town. There's 7,500 manholes, and we've GPSed over 7,000 of them already. And we have really good GIS and GPS mapping now. It's really, really good. We're looking to do more aerial crossings, primary settling tank upgrades. We need a new maintenance building. The maintenance area was 3 feet underwater with Sandy, and that's pretty much it. I could keep listing projects all evening.
Ray, when you upgrade pump stations, does that increase the capacity of the plant?
No, not necessarily.
No.
Pretty much. I think actually, if you do increase, you have to go to the DEP and justify the increase, and it becomes really difficult. So basically, we pretty much keep it the way it is.
So you would have to prove a need before you
Have to prove the need.
Yeah.
So one of the things you mentioned a few times was the age of the plant and capital requirements to, make repairs to the aging facility. You mentioned there's about a $7 million debt service or bonds that you currently have out there. So just trying to kind of get my arms around, how do you do capital financing, do you have a schedule of capital financing like we do from a roads perspective or something like that, or how do you do these things, or how have you done these things?
Well, we do have a 5-year projection. So, and the $7 million is notes. It's right now it's notes, and they haven't been converted to bonds. We have the bonds we have right now. We have 2008 series bonds, which I think we've got less than 10 years on them left.
So are most of the capital upgrades that you're making 20-year plus lifespan?
Oh yeah,
So,
yes.
so how are you financing them? Are you going out to bond for those types of things so that you're spreading it out within 20 years so that, or for the usable life, or how do you do that?
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. Basically what we're doing right now is we've drawn down our capital, quite a bit. Those pump stations, they were pretty much paid for by TOMSA. So that's a lot of money for capital, yeah. And then those 8 projects that I talked about, right now basically they're funded. They're funded through us, and then we dipped into the notes, and then basically the end of next year, about October, November, we're going to have to go to those bonds and basically tell how much we want. That'll be the first real decision.
Let me add to the Deputy Mayor's question. I think what we're trying to assess from you with regard to the capital projects and the ability for taxpayers to spread that over the life of that project is that in fact happening, or is it is your position that you're paying for projects that provide a 20-year benefit with capital from today?
I know this has all been discussed, and basically my understanding of it right now is that the major decision, I guess, that's coming with us is that, beginning of this year we had $5 or $6 million, I'll say in the bank. At this point, basically we're down less than $3 million, and then we have the bonds, and we're going to basically be looking at our funding quite tightly over this year, and then basically next year the decision will, most likely we're not going to go bond for $8 million. So hopefully we'll bond for 3 or 4, or just what we need to get through.
So $3 million. So my colleague's point,
Yeah.
3 million is used for capital. So we have I guess what we're trying to get our arms around, maybe something we need to, maybe have further discussion at some point.
Oh, yeah.
We can build a road.
Right.
Mr. Keating builds lots of them for us, right? And the road could cost $2 million.
Yeah.
But we don't generally spend, the procedure here has been not to go and use $2 million of our capital, of our, well, you can call it capital, but our current budget to spend and pay the $2 million today, because that road has a 20-year usable life, and somebody who moves here 10 years from now does not pay for the restoration of that road, and somebody who moves from here paid for the whole, so that's what we're trying to get a feel for, I think, is.
No, I know this has been discussed, I remember about a year ago or so,
Right.
yeah.
But it seems that has not changed, the philosophy has not changed.
Well, as far as the capital's been drawn down, yeah, I understand, it's different every year, but I know what you're talking about, and I know basically the real decision is gonna come this year, 2017.
So the real decision is going to come as to whether future capital projects are spread amongst the usable life period, or that they're used from the current capital.
Yeah, no, all of that, yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks, Ray.
Sure.
Okay, we have the Middletown Housing Authority.
Hi, for those of you that don't know me, I'm Susan Thomas. I'm the director over the Housing Authority in Middletown. We have 100 public housing units at Daniel Towers, 150 units at Alice B. TOMSA, which are classified as Section 8 new construction, which are basically new construction project-based funding. And we have 280 Section 8 vouchers, which we took on 30 of the Bayshore vouchers that were displaced with the downgrade of that building. Those 30 vouchers will remain with our program until Bayshore is built, and those 30 vouchers will have the ability to go back. However, the funding will stay with us, so it will free up 30 vouchers to be given out to anybody on the street, as they call it. As we spoke last year, we had talked about the RAD conversion, which is a different kind of funding for Daniel Towers, converting the Daniel Towers building over to what's considered Section 8 project base. The RAD conversion is making the housing authority the landlord rather than HUD the landlord. I believe HUD was overwhelmed with the response from housing authorities willing to do this. We were due to close on November 17th. It was a date written in stone. We were pushed back to January 12th. We're a little upset by that because it does give the funding a little bit difference than what we would have closed if we had closed by the end of the year. But HUD had a priority list. We were not on that, so we are due to close January 12th. That will enable all the tenants, the tenants in Daniel Towers will not be affected. It's more of a difference in funding in the building. It's a benefit to them. For the seniors that are in there, they now have the ability, after 1 year of remaining in that program and remaining leased up in that building, after that year, they will now have what is a portable voucher, and they are free to take that voucher and go out on the road and lease up anywhere else. With a senior building, it doesn't have that much of a ramification. It's more involving the family units who now have the ability to not stay in a project-based unit, but have the ability to now take that voucher and go out to any apartment in the private world and lease up. For our seniors, we really don't think it's going to make much of an effect on them. The seniors are there because of the senior building, because of the senior conveniences, because of the senior friendships, of the senior busing that comes there, the community room, and the projects that are there. So we don't really think it'll affect them. However, if they choose to, if their children move to Florida, if their children move to North Carolina, the senior now has the ability to take that voucher with them, as long as there's a voucher in our Section 8 program available, and to take it with them. It's a win-win for the seniors, it's a win-win for us. Our funding will be at a higher level than it is for public housing. It's run a little bit differently. Prior to the RAD program, we were allotted a capital fund that we had to spend every year, and you were almost forced to spend it, so a lot of the building was upkept. With the RAD program, that capital fund for this past year was rolled into the closing. Therefore, there was no capital fund for Daniel Towers this year. That is my reasoning for not having a lot of capital projects that were completed at Daniel Towers this year. However, with our reserve funding, we were able to secure a camera system in both buildings. MRC, which is a nonprofit agency, helped to fund the camera system. Although we have a 0 crime rate, it's always nice to see who's taking a shopping cart, who's taking a decoration off a door, what senior's knocking at the door and running, and believe it or not, you really need the security camera system in our public housing authority. Believe it or not, we have more calls since we have the new camera system, but it's interesting to see the activities that go on after hours. It would boggle most of your minds.
Senior
But
hijinks.
you have no idea. You have no idea. But recently, it was a big benefit. We had 4 cars that were hitting the parking lot. Our wonderful police department came, and we were able to identify it right away. Unfortunately, it was one of our own. However, it was great. We utilized the system. We were able to get on there. We caught it in action. We had very clear pictures. From a parking lot that's across the building that never had cameras before. So that's a big plus. So we're very happy with the camera system. Our new projects coming forward, when the RAD conversion goes through, HUD mandates that your first year that they produce this new funding for you, you have to install everything in your building with energy efficient equipment. So the first year is going to be a lot of water saving shower heads, faucets, water saving toilets, energy rated refrigerators. And the one big item we'll be repairing is our irrigation system over there that hasn't worked for several years. A lot of flooding happening, a lot of leaks underground, so that's a major overhaul for there. That's mandated by HUD in our first year. For the next 20-year plan, as I'm not sure the title, I know Mr. Fiore. You were saying with the capital fund, HUD will say that you can't put all the capital fund in 1 year. It's spread out over 20 years. So whatever dollar amount they are giving you, we have a plan spread out over 20 years. In 5 years, cabinets will be coming through. In 10 years, the Energy Star efficient refrigerators will need replacement. And it's over a 20-year span that they'll give you the funding, but it is spread out over a very detailed, stringent plan that you have to follow. This upcoming year, Tomaso Plaza will be undergoing a lot of improvements. Tomaso Plaza was funded through Section 8. Unlike the public housing where you were allotted a capital fund every year and mandated to spend that, Tomaso Plaza you weren't. Previous administration kept that money in the bank, which is wonderful, but it's almost like buying a 40-year-old house that you didn't do any improvements on. Everything's falling apart. The parking lot is in shambles. The HVAC on the rooftop needs to be fixed. The common area carpet wasn't done. The boilers are on the verge of going. So a lot of the money that was saved, but now we're going to have to utilize it. Our first big project that we have in the spring of this year will be the parking lot improvement for Tomaso. We're resurfacing the entire lot, which, as you know, is a big area. Tomaso Plaza is very large. There's a township road that runs right through the front of the parking lot. We're hoping with the cooperation of the authority, of the township, that they won't mind if we roll that price right into our resurfacing of the parking lot. It seems silly to resurface one parking lot, have a township road, and then resurface the other side. When our architects get to that, I'm sure they'll, come to the township. It'll be with our funding, which it's really only our residents that use the property anyway, and DPW, I guess, when they plow. It includes replacing the handicap ramp, curbing sidewalks, installing drains in the back. We have a very bad pooling problem in the back of the building that creates like an ice skating rink for the residents there. It's very dangerous. We've tried everything to stop it from happening. There's nothing we can do. So with the resurfacing in the parking lot, they'll be installing French drains down the back with several different spots to drain the water pooling back there. There's grading behind the maintenance room. There's a cracked patio under the overhang. Creating steps from parking lot A to B. A lot of our residents walk out underneath, walk up to the parking lot over to ShopRite. It's a hill that they're walking up. They come out of their cars, walk down the hill. So we will be creating a safe path for them and steps that are compliant with handicap regulations also. Landscaping is necessary, and existing lighting we will be replacing with LED and installing additional lighting around the path between Tomaso Plaza and ShopRite. We have a big issue with that path. A lot of our residents use it. There are 2 park benches in between Tomaso Plaza and ShopRite. They're sprayed with graffiti. We constantly clean them. They're sprayed with graffiti again. It's very dark. It's very poorly lit. So we're hoping with the new lighting and the new camera system that will also be placed in the path, we'll be able to protect the seniors a little bit better. The anticipated cost for the parking lot, what we're looking at right now, is about $1.2 million. The HVAC replacement on the rooftop for Tomaso Plaza needs to be totally revamped. We have no air conditioning for the past, I think, 6 years now in the common area hallways. We have it in the community room by a wall unit, but the common area hallways have no ventilation, no air conditioning. With seniors with breathing problems and oxygen, COPD, it presents a big problem. So we did go out for estimates for that. We're in the process of awarding that now, we're checking references. The lowest bidder isn't quite somebody that we're happy with, so we're looking into alternatives to go with the second lowest bidder. That project will be about, right now we're looking at about $500,000. With that, we will be improving lighting in both Daniel Towers and Tomaso at indoor lighting in hallways for both buildings, with an anticipated cost for Tomaso about $100,000 and Daniel Towers about $75,000. With that being said, those are a lot of projects coming up. Our wish list is cabinet replacement. All the kitchens are original, they're 40 years old. They're taking their toll. We are replacing cabinets, flooring on apartment turns, which is really alienating a lot of the residents that are there. You know, they see people moving in with much newer equipment, appliances, and cabinets than they have. There's no other way to do it. There's no other fair way to do it than to effectively do it on unit turns, which unfortunately have been quite plentiful in the past 2 years. However, if there's ever any extra money laying out there, and if HUD ever decides to, fund this where we have a little bit extra money, we would like to replace the cabinets in all apartments, so the residents that are here and are existing will be able to get that. But that's at a cost of about $3,000 a unit. We've had it on, like I said, on unit turns, which would put us at Tomaso Plaza about $450,000 and Daniel Towers at $300,000. That are our anticipated projects. The cabinets are a wish list. Everything else is definitely out for RFP already. The parking lot, like I said, will take a lot of coordination. We're going to have to, discuss with the police department the ability for the residents to park on Green Oak Boulevard, maybe beyond where they're allowed to right now. It will be done in phases. But we do have, the majority of our tenants do have parking spots. So when that time comes, we will approach the township as far as the need for us to include the paving of that road in our bid, and the need for, cooperation as far as displacing the residents at that point in time. Other than that, that's where we stand. We have a lot coming up.
We have one question.
Yeah.
With regard to the energy projects that you're doing, are you professional applying a direct install or pay for performance to get those incentives back?
I have not looked into any of that. We have very proactive council members. So as far as the lighting, yes, we are looking for getting payment back on that. The parking lot, no.
The questions are specific to the projects that you're doing when you talk about lighting replacement.
Lighting replacement, yes, we are looking into
Yeah,
that.
I did speak to.
Yes,
The BPU will pay 30 cents.
yes.
You'll pay 30
We
cents.
actually had,
they'll pay 7.
one of our board members is very involved in that, and we actually had a contractor come out to look at that. We just gave him a lot of specs. Apparently, based on our utility bills, Tomaso doesn't qualify. Daniel Towers does.
Direct install has an upper threshold of 250 kW maximum for any month for the year. Pay for performance has a minimum threshold for renovation of 200 kW per month, per year. So I just want to make certain that both are being utilized because they both have different thresholds for money back.
I will definitely look into that. But yes, we did have, like I said, we have a council member that's very proactive, and I know Tomaso did not qualify. And at the rate we're going now, we were talking about common area hallways, and we got into it with one of the contractors that came out. We have baseboard heating in the apartments. We pay all of the electricity, and in a breakdown, talking about the lighting, we're finding out that we're paying almost $230 a unit for electricity for an apartment that's 780 square foot. So we are definitely in need of revamping. Which we just had a list of all the units, the size of the units. Some are 3-foot units, some are 6-foot unit. They're installed right under air conditioner wall units. The air conditioner wall units plugged in. When they're plugged in, the heaters underneath are burning the plugs. It's just a poor system. We did discuss having some kind of electrical system where the pump, we're talking about using hot water heaters and pumps that go on the wall. So we are addressing that now. But like I said, when they came to talk to us about the lights, that's how all this came came too late. But it's literally between $210 and $230 a unit for electricity. That's a hard thing to swallow. So we are looking into that. It's just a very old building. But thank you for that.
Great,
So-
thank you.
I have a question. Going back to the Section 8 vouchers, the 280, does that include your units?
No,
So
no.
those
Those are vouchers on the street.
are
vouchers
mobile
that-
vouchers,
Correct.
basically, 280.
80 of those are in Middletown, 200 are ported out. And out of the 80 that are in Middletown, 30 are actually Bay Shore. Out of the 30, 20 are still in Middletown, 10 are out.
So that's 50 then in Middletown that are
Correct.
mobile. And the 200 that are out of town, can they come back to town? They can go anywhere basically, right? They just happen to be out of town now.
Yes. And one thing I want to bring to light, and it's something that HUD has presented. Currently, without getting too technical, you're getting a voucher size or a voucher dollar based on Monmouth County. HUD is trying to introduce basing that dollar amount on zip code, which will change drastically for Middletown. Right now, it's very difficult to lease up in Middletown. The rents are very high. If they change that for small PHAs to zip code specified, it will change a huge difference.
And so, but you were talking about this new system where if people live in a unit for a year, they can then take, that's if they move into a unit with a Section 8 voucher.
It's only for public housing, it's only for
Right.
Danish Towers, there's 100.
Right.
After you're there 1 year, one of the components of RAD was now you have the ability to take that voucher and become a tenant-based voucher.
So is that in addition to the 280, theoretically?
No, actually it's not. They
Okay.
can only do that if our Section 8 voucher program has an opening. But they go to the top of the list. They
So somebody amongst that 280, if they move into Daniel Towers, if they live there for a year, they can then move on to somewhere else with that voucher?
right,
Okay.
but it'll still essentially say 280.
Yeah.
If we don't have the funding for that 280, they can't move. But if all 100 came to me next year and said we want to move,
Right.
I have to give them the first 100 vouchers on the program and then lease up Daniel Towers.
Oh, I
It's-
see, they
it's
get to
really-
take a voucher with them as they become
Exactly,
available.
which, right, HUD's theory is that they want to get away from project-based
Mhm.
situations and allow them the portability of living wherever they want.
So
Um,
once you give your 30 back to, well, 30 go back to Bayshore Village, right? So
Yeah,
then
then
essentially
we'll have 30
250.
vouchers that
Well-
we have to lease up.
Right, and you'll have 250 available. Is there any prospect through HUD of getting more than that in any time in the near future?
Funding, no. I doubt
No
it.
Section 8 vouchers, they're just not, yeah.
Ted, would there be any advantage for us to include the paving in our capital? Like overall,
Yeah, we-
and just have the
We can
housing
definitely talk
authority
about that.
reimburse
Maybe
us?
economy of scale on that. maybe.
Yeah,
We had lower rate.
lower rate for everything, and then, just have them save some money on it too.
We can definitely talk about that.
Okay.
Okay, anybody else? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Ray, you can stay for the rest of the meeting if you want. It gets better from here.
Now we got our own.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Our next item on tonight's agenda, we have the known action items. Our first item is the introduction of proposed ordinance 2016-3182, an ordinance authorizing additional authorized street names honoring veterans.
Reintroduction or amendment.
Okay, move for introduction.
Second.
Committeeman LaSalle.
Yes.
Committeewoman Murray.
Yes.
Committeeman Sedambrino.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Fiore.
Yes.
Mayor Sharpenberger.
Yes.
Motion carries. Introduce this ordinance on first reading with a public hearing to be held December 19th. Our next item, we have introduction of proposed ordinance 2016-3183, an ordinance amending chapter 44 of the Code of the Township for special officers.
Move for introduction.
Second.
Committeeman LaSalle.
Yes.
Committeewoman Murray.
Yes.
Committeeman Sedambrino.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Fiore.
Yes.
Mayor Sharpenberger.
Yes.
Motion carries passes ordinance on first reading with public hearing to be held December 19th. Our next item for introduction, 2016-3184, an ordinance authorizing four-way stop at intersection of Borden and Pelican Roads.
Move for introduction?
Second.
Expecting a hallelujah from down that end of the
Yeah,
table.
really.
Yeah.
Right.
There's going to be a lot of happy people there.
Committeeman Massell?
Yes.
Committeewoman Murray?
Yes.
Committeeman Sedambrino?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Fiore?
Yes.
Mayor Sharpenberger?
Yes.
Motion carries passes ordinance on first reading with a public hearing to be held December 19th. It seems, I guess this is duplicate.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna
Okay,
say, that's
twice.
repeated, yeah.
That's, okay. So we're gonna take this 3185 off and
3186 is off too.
3186 is off the agenda, so at this time, I'd like to ask the Township Committee to adopt the consent agenda, which would include Resolution 16-269 through 16-274, which was an additional resolution for authorizing the execution and acceptance of a deed of dedication and perpetual flood protection easement from the owners of Block 532, Lot 35.
Move for adoption?
Second.
Committeeman Massell.
Yes.
Committeewoman Murray. Yes. Committeeman Sedambrino.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Fiore.
Yes.
Mayor Sharpenberg.
Yes.
Motion carries to adopt the consent agenda. At this time, we have discussion items for December 5th. We have the 2017 Annual Action Plan for Community Development Block Grant, the CDBG. And we have the property tax card program.
Yeah, so, property tax card program, we're doing that for economic,
Yeah, we had actually gotten, or I should say Maureen was, had gathered up a lot of information on the mechanics of it. It's not quite as simple and straightforward as you would think. There's a lot of steps you have to take.
One of the things is that there's some initial expenses that you have to decide if you're going to take on yourself or you're going to try to get sponsors to take those on, and that's something we have to talk about.
Even things as far as gluing the cards to, a paper and then inserting them and that sort of thing.
With mailing costs.
So I spoke to, this goes back to 2012, we actually have that referenced here. I spoke back in 2012 about it a little bit to Marlboro, Mayor Marlboro at the time. Most of the towns that participate in this have somebody, a bank or somebody sponsor the card? I know Hazlitt just did. Investors Bank just sponsored the Hazlitt card.
Yes, I mean, and we talked to Ocean Township too, they did the same thing, they went out and got a sponsor for the card. So that's
That's the
something.
biggest expense, right, is the card?
That and mailing, right? I mean,
That
those
and
are the
mailing,
two big ones.
So can the mailing coincide with the tax bill?
And that's the cost.
Can it increase the cost because you have to add the cards and attach them to a
Do we have
letter?
an estimate of what it
We
would be?
did.
It's like $3,900 plus 7, so you're about $4,500.
For the increase in mail?
And increase in mail, yeah.
And Maureen, that's for the number of, our number of units, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I think just my personal perspective is, this almost has to be rolled, and we talk about this all the time,
Yeah.
Chair, and I think this has to be, we've got to work through economic development, we have to work to get businesses that will say that they'll be in, because if you don't roll this out with 15 businesses, initially, no one is going to use it, you can't play from behind. That 15 could spur another 15, but if you don't have an indication of interest, this can't get off the ground, so I know we're working to do that.
One of the things other things we learned is one of the, I guess, kind of practical issues with this is that all of the businesses who want to participate have to have a dedicated cash register, card reader, cash register type of place. So essentially, terminal, that's the right word. So essentially, any business is going to have a a separate place for you to check out and pay, which is, not that big of a deal, but they have to buy that piece of equipment. One of the drawbacks of it, though, is that one of the businesses that would seem most likely to benefit from this would be supermarkets. The supermarkets can't do that because they'd have to have one at every single checkout stand, and no one's going to do that. So there are some awkward things about the way it works so far, and maybe it'll get better in the future. But right now, certain businesses, it's just not practical for them to do it. Like even if you had a Lowe's or Home Depot, it wouldn't work there because they have too many checkout points.
The thing is, if they could just have one or two maybe and say, this is the property tax card, aisle, or
What are the mechanics of the rebate?
It's a lot more common. We looked at this a few years ago, and it's quite complex as to how you provide these credits.
I know it's not as easy as you go buy a slicer
Yeah.
at the, whatever, and you get a check from Colleen for $100.
There were, and
the spelling salt.
yeah.
You would get $100 over 2 years.
And there was actually a piece of legislation proposed in 2013 or 14, which I have, that was, to clearly make it legal to us. There's some question, there's some ambiguity as to whether or not you can really do this. There's no clear and apparent authority for it. There's nothing that per se prohibits it, but there's nothing that says per se authorizes it either. So it's kind of in a no man's land as far as the authority for a municipality to actually do this. I know some towns have done it for a few years now.
It seems to be, it's been getting more popular.
I mean, I've seen some of the numbers, they're not huge as to the utilization. Marlboro, which introduced the total rebates they had a year or so ago, was about $20,000 total in the whole town, and they were the biggest, component and advertiser of it.
That's what we learned from Ocean. I think they said the average homeowner is less than $100 a year.
And for the most part, the rebates are funded by the vendors.
Right, that's where they come from.
Right, so this is,
For less than $100 a year, you can offset the increase.
If you had everybody. But
For education at least.
So I guess the next question would be, we were going to have a forum at the Arts Center and invite some of the businesses in, We should probably do that in January fairly soon, but give us enough time to publicize it to as many businesses down as possible.
And then the question is, how do you want to go about soliciting interest in sponsoring the cards? We could put a proposal out there, see who's interested, or approach some of the larger businesses in town, see if they might be interested, something like that.
not to draw a straight comparison, but this is similar to, in a way of discussion, but it's similar to a Groupon type thing, right? It's not. Meaning that any reduction in price, any rebate, the vendor's going to totally fine. So there's no financial advantage for the municipality as an entity. It's a pass-through advantage from the vendor to the local taxpayer.
Instead of deducting it at the register, it just comes off another location. So,
Yeah, there's no skin in the game for us, except to promote local shopping. Like by Middletown.
but 67,000 people buying things here is a pretty big advantage.
Our next item, we have the Madison River Road outdoor distributed antenna service,
So that, based on our prior conversation, we're going to have a resolution on the next agenda for that one facility on Madison River Road. It's an existing pole. They're going to put an antenna on there that is intended to supplement local cell service. And it's being reviewed now by our consulting engineer, but we don't see any issues with it.
Township committee comments?
Okay. So, what's everyone?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to hold off my comments until our regular meeting. Just say that our tree lighting yesterday that was certified. The tree is getting bigger.
That went through.
I now have to look up at it. You can see the.
They're just getting older.
Mr. Severino.
Nothing for this evening, Mayor, thank you.
Okay, Ms. Murray, you're up.
Nothing for me tonight, Mayor, thank you.
Okay, Deputy Mayor.
I think you've heard from me quite enough tonight.
And I don't usually do this, but I'm going to break with tradition. Just really quick, we had our Sloan opening, Memorial Sloan Kettering opening last Monday. And Murray and myself were there also. What a fabulous, everything Sloan does is top shelf. And this is no different. Great event. The Lieutenant Governor was there, some grillos and the freeholders. It was really a great event, and they are going great guns already. They're going to be moving employees in steadily over the next couple of months. They will be at 300, I believe, initially, and have room to close to double that. So it really is something that we wish would happen, more often. But it really was a great thing to see. It's going to be a great facility for everybody.
Can I just follow up on the Sloan thing just for a second? One of the things that we were discussing at the event, that they've raised this question about signage, and they were having some issues with the Turnpike Authority. So last week, I went to a meeting with them, with the Sloan people at the Turnpike Authority, and met with their staff about signage, because it's difficult figuring out how to get in there because of the unusual jug handle. So I just wanted to let everyone know it went really, really well. Turnpike Authority were very cooperative. They agreed actually to install for Sloan. They'll install 4 directional signs coming from really all directions, making it very clear as to how you get in there. The issue will be that two of the signs will be on Turnpike Authority property. 2 of them will be within the county right of way. They'll install all 4 of them. They will agree to, in the future, if any get damaged or run over, need to be replaced, they will replace the 2 on their property. We'll agree to replace the 2. They make the signs exactly the way they do in our sign shop, so it's no heavy lift. We'll maintain the 2 outside of their jurisdiction, and they'll maintain the 2, but everyone's pretty happy with the way it turned out.
So are they going to put on, like, the parkway, any type of, no, I'm not talking about at the exit sign, but sometimes as you're driving down the parkway, or you're not the H, but you're driving down the parkway, you're driving on 287, and it'll say exit 1 whatever, 4 whatever. At some point, they're not gonna do that.
They will not. They recently changed their signage rules, and they're really, really strict. It was a miracle we got these 4, frankly, because they don't allow any advertising on them.
It's not advertising, it's basically like them telling,
College,
I mean,
or the library,
right, exit
or
9 for the university,
landmark.
exit, right.
They won't see any of those anymore.
You don't see that.
No.
But you know what, that's a good thing, because that kind of fits the pattern where everybody cooperated, the state, the county.
It worked out really well. The Sloan people were really happy about the way it turned out.
Yeah. And the only other thing I want to say is tomorrow night at the Arts Center at 7 o'clock is going to be the charrette for the Route 36 corridor study. And we're hoping we get a good turnout. I told the VFW and the American Legion they were very interested in it. So hopefully we get a lot of the businesses and a lot of the residents who want to see that stretch of Middletown brought back and got a complete facelift. So we're hoping for the weather holds out and a good turnout. And that's all I have to say. Thanks.
Public comments?
Okay. Let me just lay out the ground rules for the new first-timers here. Please keep your comments to 5 minutes and state your name and address for the record. Okay? Who's up first? Anybody?
Good evening, my name's Don Watson, 1 Collinson Drive. I was wondering if you could tell me when the bridge on New Monmouth Road, not New Monmouth, Cherry Tree is going to be started by the bridge by Modern Day? Do you know anything about that?
Well, they've already started doing
when are they going to close the road?
I don't know the date they're going to close the road. I don't know that.
I was just wondering if it's going to be before winter really gets underway or... in the
I
spring?
can find out if there's a status on it, if you want to give me a call.
All right, cool, thank you.
It's a county project.
Yeah, right.
So we're not privy to all the
Okay,
details.
I was also wondering when we're gonna move our 911 system over to the county?
Yeah, it's been there.
It's been there?
Yep.
Okay.
Smooth as silk.
And,
Was that October 1st?
Around October, early October, yeah.
okay, great. And, do you know when we can, look at the plans for the new municipal center that's being designed?
I think I said at the last meeting, we're putting out an RFP for
Right.
an architect. We have the basic layout, basic location, basic floor plans, but we need to do an RFP to bring on an architect to do the construction drawings.
Okay,
So probably,
once that's released?
early, very early spring, March or so.
All right, cool. And when is, where's the location that you have specified?
It's sort of the other side of the parking lot between the cell tower and Kings Highway.
The cell tower?
Basically up the hill a little.
The cell
bit.
tower that's out in the middle of the parking lot. out here.
Okay, so it'll be more or less right on Kings Highway?
Pretty close to Kings Highway.
Yeah. All right, cool. Thank you very much.
Okay, anybody else care to speak? All right, see no further members of the public come forward, and to close the public portion and move for adjournment.
Second. Committeeman Sal.
Yes.
Committeewoman Murray. Yes. Committeeman Sedambrino.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Fiore.
Yes.
Mayor Sharkey.
Yes.
Motion carries to adjourn.
I told him.
Right on cue. Kevin, that was just a